In the year 1242, according to their calendar, 24 wagon loads of handwritten Sfarim were burned by the enemies of the Jews, which is the Christians. The Jewish people could not do anything about it, aside from cry. So you understand what is on the line here, and I've said this once and I'll say it again. The Rambam in Hilchot Yesodei HaTorah says, if a goy, non-Jew, writes a Sefer Torah, not because he's some Christian idol worshiper, not because he's trying to make fun of it. He's a righteous Noahide. He decides to write a Sefer Torah. The Jewish people find it, they cannot use the Sefer Torah, they have to bury it. A goy writes a Sefer Torah, you have to bury that Sefer Torah. He writes tefillin, you have to bury those tefillin. No one's allowed to use them. An apikos, Jew, writes a Sefer Torah. It's a mitzvah. And some, like the Rambam, say it's an obligation to burn it. Meaning, a Jew that says God needs you, writes a Sefer Torah, it's a mitzvah to burn it. Writes tefillin, mitzvah to burn them. Why? Because they're an apikos. So Rabotai Yekarim, you have to be very, very careful before you start putting your own brain right aside next to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Zot Chukat Torah. This is the entire Torah. Certainly there's commentary by different sages. There are different opinions about different things. All 70 different facets of the Torah. But don't ever think for a moment that you can just throw your hat in and say, you know what? Let me reinterpret the Torah without having any foundation or any legs to stand on. Why? Because it makes sense to me. It makes sense to me. Zot Chukat Torah, Rabotai. This particular parasha is literally written for the heretics. Just the beginning of it. Written for the heretics who try to understand Hashem in their own ways. We do not have such permission to do such things. Furthermore, when you understand that Shlomo HaMelech himself could not understand the reasons behind the mitzvot, what's greater, the mitzvot of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that commanded them? Normal people will say HaKadosh Baruch Hu is greater. He commanded them. So if Shlomo HaMelech cannot understand the mitzvot, how can we understand Hashem? What can we understand? Whatever He allowed us to understand, by being clear about it. Whatever our sages gave us clarification about. We have no permission whatsoever to redefine the definitions according to our language. Especially since most of these philosophers are simply arguing based on the English usage of words, meaning that they're not interpreting things according to how the Torah is written in the Sfat HaKodesh, in the holy language. They're simply playing semantics here. He wants, he needs, he this, he that. This, Rabotai, is apikosut. Apikosut puts a person in a situation where not only they cannot be counted in a minyan, not only cannot they not be a rabbi, not only they cannot even be a chazan, but if they write a Sefer Torah, they are in a worse status than a goy that writes a Sefer Torah. As long as that goy is not an idol worshiper. If it's a goy that's an idol worshiper, like a Christian or a Catholic, then of course you have to burn that Sefer Torah as well. But the point being is, Rabotai, HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not want us to burn any Sifrei Torah. But He used this parasha to remind us that sometimes Sifrei Torah will be burned. In fact, about 800 years ago, in the year 1242, according to their calendar, of the Gregorian calendar, during Parashat Chukat, the Christians who hate Jews as they are part of Esav decided that they were going to burn many Sifrei Torah, many Gemarot, and in fact, 24 wagon loads of handwritten Sfarim were burned by the enemies of the Jews, which is the Christians. The Jewish people could not do anything about it. Aside from cry, aside from pray to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, why are you allowing your Torah to be burned by these idol worshippers? During that night, one of the Chachamim, some say it was multiple Chachamim, had the same exact dream. That Friday night of Parashat Chukat, they had the same dream that the answer to that question that the entire community is asking, why is HaKadosh Baruch Hu allowing His Torah to be burned by idol worshippers? And not just one Sefer Torah, not 2 Sifrei Torah, not 10 Sifrei Torah. Wagon loads of Sifrei Torah, wagon loads of Torah. Why are you allowing these idol worshippers to burn your Torah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Why? Each one of them dreamt the same exact dream that the answer to their question is in this week's parasha, the same parasha that they were burned. In the verse, Zot Chukat HaTorah. This is the decree of the Torah. Why? Because I decreed it. That's why. No further explanation needed. You said it, we do it. You said it, we follow. You said it, we believe. Na'aseh v'nishma. Anytime a person tries to put on a hat as if they are in the same level as the sages, and needless to say, in the same level of God, and tries to word things differently, interpret things differently, try to give people an understanding that they can relate to, but not an understanding that has a kosher stamp on it. An understanding that people want to hear, that God is like them. That person is in the same category as the Christians that burned the Sifrei Torah, because those very same Christians turned a man into God, turned a God into 3. Hence the reason why, when such people write Sifrei Torah, they're no different than those idol worshippers that burn the Sifrei Torah. Both of them have to be burned.
אם בחוקותיי תלכו ואת מצוותיי תשמעו ועשיתם אותם